Thanks for joining us today. This morning we're going to run through Primavera Unifier. It's going to be a first part of a multiple part series related to how you use the cost sheets and the cost coding within Unifier. I'm Nicole Jardin, just doing the intro, doing the easy part, and Amy Paul is going to show you the software in action. So let's get right into it and not take any more time, and I'll hand it over to Amy. Now, this is a mini webinar. We'll just do a short subject, half an hour or less, and then we'll have a series of them. And you'll be invited. You're more than welcome to join all of them. We'll explain those more at the end. Go ahead, Amy.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we've got it.
Perfect. All right, so what you're seeing on your screen right now is an example of a cost sheet at the project level in Primavera Unifier. So you can see that it has many different columns, and each row here is made up of a specific cost code. And different costs are entered throughout the spreadsheet with your totals along the bottom. So cost sheets in Unifier are an excellent way to keep track of your budgets and spending, and they can be created at the company level or at the project level, like you see here. Cost sheets created at the project level can be rolled up to the company level, giving you a holistic view of costs across your company's projects. We're going to be looking mainly at project level cost sheets today. So the first thing you want to do when creating a cost sheet is to define your cost codes. So these guys along here. So this can be done in the company workspace, just moving over into here. And you want to make sure that you're in administration mode, which you can see when this gear in the corner here is set to blue. Then from here, you're going to want to navigate to data structure setup, data definitions, and cost codes. So here you can see we have a list of cost code data definitions. So each of these data definitions can be used as segments, and you have a total of 10 segments that you can use in a cost sheet. So I will show you what this looks like when we start building our cost sheet. To create our new cost code data definition, we're just going to click on New up here. And the first thing it's going to ask you for is a name. And then you're also going to have to choose a label. So for the name, I'm just going to call it Demo Discipline for now. And for our label, we're just going to call it D-Discipline to make it nice and simple. And then you're going to want to pick an input type. So you can choose a pull-down menu or a text box. A text box just allows you to type in your cost codes as you go, while a pull-down menu allows you to create a list of possible cost codes to choose from. So we're going to demonstrate using a pull-down menu. And you'll see once I pick this option, the dataset tab shows up here. So this is where we're going to fill in our cost codes. We can manually add them using this add button here, and then just typing in your value and your label as you go, and then choosing whether you want it to be an active or inactive cost code, and you can also choose whether you would like it to be the default. This works pretty well if you only have a couple cost codes you want to add, but if you have a long list, there is an easier way to do this. So that is in using the import section here. So using import, you can actually import a list of cost codes directly from a CSV file. So luckily for the purposes of this webinar, we do have a CSV file of codes ready to go. So that is this guy here. So you can see in our one column here, we have our list of codes. And in our second column, we have the labels for all of these codes. So once you have this list ready to go, all you have to do is go in here and click import. We're going to pick that CSV file I just showed you there. Open. And you'll see within just a couple seconds, it automatically fills in all of these cost codes here for you. So it's really nice and easy and very quick with very little effort from me. So now that we have this guy here, this is going to function as our first segment. And then I do have another definition here, this EAI type, which we'll be using as our second segment for our cost sheet today. You can see that this one only has 5 data set values here, so it's much smaller. And like I said, this will be our second segment for our cost sheet. So let's look at creating the cost sheet itself now that we have our cost codes. So the best way to do this is to create a cost sheet template, which you can then use to create cost sheets for multiple projects without having to remake it every time. So cost sheet templates can also be created in the company workspace, further down this list in templates here, and then cost sheets. So here you can see a list of our existing cost sheet templates, and you can create new ones through this create button up here. You just click create and cost sheet, and now you can define the properties of your new cost sheet template. So I'm going to name this one cost sheet demo just to be nice and simple. And I usually leave the CBS code label and CBS item label alone, but you can change them as needed. They just determine how these are named in the cost sheet. So next, you can choose your structure. So flat will allow you to see all of your cost codes laid out on the same level, while a tree structure lets you create a hierarchy of codes. So we're going to be using a tree structure. You can also check this sort CBS option here, which will sort your codes in ascending order, but only if you have a flat structure. So you'll see once I click tree, that option here disappears. So next, we're going to choose our segments, which is where our cost code data definitions that we made will come in. So you'll see the segments are defined by their labels here rather than their names. So I'm going to select D discipline, that cost code definition that we just created. And then I'm also going to select type. And we're only going to be using those 2 segments, but as you can see, you can have a total of 10 segments in one cost sheet template. There are also some additional options down here for forecasting used in the cost sheet, such as whether you want to allow users the ability to manually adjust forecast details or have them automatically update. And you can also enable P6 sources here, which allows you to use data from a P6 summary sheet. And there are some other options as well. So now that we have all of this chosen, we're just going to click Save. And you'll see that this cost sheet template is now part of our list. If we double click in here, it will open it up for us to start to edit. So we have 2 pre-made columns here for our WBS code and CBS item. That's using the labels chosen in that previous screen I showed you. And the rest of the columns we're going to have to add ourselves. So to add a column, we're just going to go to this Add Column button up here. And this opens up the overlay to create your column. So you input a name. For example, let's create a column for approved estimates. Then we're going to decide on the type of column, so meaning the data it will be pulling in, whether from a business process or created through a formula. So in this case, we're going to choose from business process, and we're going to choose our data source to be estimate approved. So now we can pull data from all of our approved estimates in the project that we're going to be using. And then next up, we do want the data format to be using currency. I'm going to select the display mode to be show, but I can decide to hide this column if I still want to use it in calculations, but I don't want it to show in my sheet. And then I can decide if I want it to show a total, which I do. And then finally, you can choose your column position. I'm just going to have it set after the CBS item column here, but when you have more columns, this becomes more important. So now I'm going to click Save, and you'll see that this column has appeared here. So let's do one more example. Let's say I want to create a formula-based column. So I'll click on this button again here. And so formula-based columns can use data from other columns or data sources like business processes. So for example, let's say I want to take a look at pending budget changes. So I want this column to show the total of any budget changes in my project that are created but not approved yet. So I'm going to set the type to be formula, and I'm going to set my data source for project cost too. And now I can change and set my formula here. So I want to cast my net to include every budget change that is in progress, but not at the end stage. So not approved, rejected, or canceled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add budget change, awaiting review, plus budget change, sent for revision, and then last but not least, budget change pending approval. So this grabs all of our budget change business processes that are in these steps of the workflow, but are not at the end stage yet. So in other words, all of our pending budget changes. So I'm going to click Save. And again, I can choose these options down here. You'll see under data format, you also now have the option to show it as a percentage, which can be very useful. But I'm going to leave it as currency. I'm going to have it displayed and showed, and I'm going to keep the total as sum of all rows. So I'll click Save here, and there you go. Now we have our two columns. So normally we would go through and create the rest of our columns for this cost template, but in the interest of time, we actually have a template with all of our columns already set up. And that is this one here, our EAI PCM column template. So you can see we have all of our columns here already ready to go, ready to be filled in with our data. So the only thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to change the segments being used in this template to the ones that we created. So we're going to set it as D discipline and type, and then we're going to click Save. So an important note here is that you can only change the segments in your cost sheet templates. Once you create a cost sheet in a project, the segments that you're using will be the segments that you use. You won't be able to change them in your actual project. So now that we have our cost sheet template ready, let's create a cost sheet in our project. So I'm going to go to our EAI Cost Codes demo project, and you'll see here under cost sheet, it is empty. That's because right now we don't currently have a cost sheet for this project. So I'm going to click Create from Template and choose that template I was just showing earlier, EAI PCM. And then I'm going to click Save. It's going to give us a confirmation. Are you sure you want to create this project cost sheet? I'll say yes. And there it is. So now you'll see these are the segments we're using, and these are all the options that we chose earlier. So if I double click, it'll open it up for us right here. We have all of our columns, and we can start adding our cost codes. So you can add these manually by going into this Manage Rows button and clicking Add. So then from here, what you can do is you can just click on these drop downs here and choose the cost codes that we set out, and then continue to fill them in this way, which can be helpful if you only have a couple cost codes you want to add. But typically, you're going to have quite a few cost codes in a cost sheet. So an easier way to do this is actually to import from a CSV file. So this can be done pretty easily. If you already have your cost codes elsewhere, you can usually just copy paste them into a CSV file. But the best way to do this is to go to this button here and click Export, and then CBS Details. So what this is going to do is it's going to export our, there it is. It's going to export the kind of template you want to use in order to re-import it. So it's kind of the easiest way to make sure you don't get any errors on re-importing. So you'll see these are all of the columns that it's going to want you to fill in. You're going to have to put in your code, your item, short description, etc. So as an example of how to fill this in, let's take a look again at those segments that we created earlier. So if I go back to my company workspace and look at my cost codes here, Let's say I want to put in first segment 999. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in 999-0. And then if I want to put in a second segment, for example, labor, the best way to do this is to separate it using 2 tildes. And then let's go to our second segment here. So EAI type. There we are. And then I want to put in the second segment for labor. So then I'll put in again 999-L. And in this way, you can fill in your codes and your different segments. So we only have 2 segments, but if you have multiple, then you can keep going in the same formula. So now we're going to just fill in the rest of these columns. So for example, this would be rework labor. Short description would also be rework labor. And you just fill it out as you go, making sure to note the required fields that are talked about up here. So for example, here we have our required fields, which are short description and status. So you do want to make sure that you fill those in. And again, in the interest of time, we do have a CSV sheet that is already fully filled in, so we don't have to go through it all manually. So let's take a look at that sheet now. If it will load for me, come on there, bud. Aha, 1 second. Technical difficulties. Aha, here we are. So this is a sheet with all of our codes filled in and all of our relevant columns filled in. So we have our segment 1 here, separated by a tilde, segment 2. And you can see there are quite a few codes here, so it would take quite a long time to do manually. So typically you would want to have all of your codes that you can just import into these columns here. So once you have all of this set, now all we have to do is go back and re-import into our cost sheet. So let's go back to Unifier here, back to our cost sheet, and then we're going to click on this button again here, click on Import, CBS Details, and then we're going to click on that cost sheet I just showed you. And it'll think about it for just a few seconds. And there you go. It's all filled in and ready to have data input. And with very quickly and with very little effort from me. So this is the process of creating a cost sheet. So these can look different depending on your data and the cost codes you're using. But this is kind of the general thing that you'll be seeing. On November 18th, we're going to have our second mini webinar on cost sheets, where we're going to take a look at how budgets can affect cost sheets and what it looks like in the cost sheet itself when budgets are created, updated, and approved. We hope to see you there. And in the meanwhile, thank you for watching. And unless there are any questions, I think I'll hand it back to Nicole now.
Okay, thanks, Amy. So as I mentioned, because there's a lot of different pieces when it comes to cost coding, cost structures, how to use it, we thought the best way to do this was to break this into some mini webinars. So Amy went through the mechanics of how to set them up. Templates are the way to go. Then you can make them for different project types, different clients, different divisions with different structures, and then you apply those to your projects. We have many upcoming webinars, mini webinars, and we have many related to Unifier specifically. So if you're interested in that, just get on our website, take a look at that. If you want to get them through our mailer, make sure that you put your information in through an RFI, and then we'll get you on our mailing list. So I think that's everything for today. If you have any more questions, if you want to reach out, if you want to learn more about Unifier, go ahead and reach out to myself or to Donna, depending on what part of the world you're in, and we'd be happy to help. Okay,